Can everybody take their seats, please? We want to get the meeting started. This meeting of the Township of Washington, in accordance with the requirements of the New Jersey statutes regarding open public meetings notice. Notice of this meeting was legally advertised in the Courier Post and the South Jersey Times and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Fire exits are located through the double doors to your left and right. Please silence all mobile devices. This meeting is being videotaped. Anyone who does not wish to be seen on television may be excused. This will be shown on Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 36 every week, Sunday at 9 p.m., Wednesday at 7 p.m., Friday at 10 p.m., and Saturday at 10 p.m., and will continue until the next meeting.
Honor guard.
Honor guard. Shoulder. On. Ready. Shoot. Ready. Eight. Mark on. Mark. And then. Forward. Out. And then.
Everybody rise when the honor guard gets up and we'll do the flag salute.
Two, left, yes, three, seven, oh.
Okay, pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, out. Detail at ease. Ready, yes.
Okay, next we'll have a prayer from Father Picnic, the police chaplain.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, as we gather this evening for the promotions of 3 of the officers in the Washington Township Police Department, we ask for your blessings on them, their families, and all of their colleagues and comrades. We ask that you give them a blessing for service, because as leadership increases, we know responsibility increases, but most of all, service. Service to their brothers and sisters, service to their local community, and to all whom they meet. We ask for the grace to keep them safe and to keep them always blessed. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Okay, everybody can sit. Chief? Oh, wait a minute, okay. I'm sorry, we have to do the roll call first.
Ms. Donato?
Here.
Mr. Longfellow? Here. Ms. Pasqualone? Mr. Perry?
Yeah, here.
Mr. Fazio?
Here.
Mayor Gattinelli?
Here.
Mr. Platt?
Present.
And Mr. Gonter?
Here.
Okay, now, Chief Gersick.
It's a great honor to be able to make promotions tonight to 3 employees that are dedicated, hard workers, and loyal to the agency in Washington Township. At this time, we're going to call up Mike Farris.
I, Michael Ferris,
I, Michael Ferris,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and to the government established
and to the government
in
established
the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will impartially
that I will impartially
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of a sergeant
of a sergeant
of the Washington Township Police Department
of the Washington Township Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I love my dad so much. Dear my daddy, I hope he has a good promotion, and I pray to God that I love him.
All right.
Lieutenant Russo.
Repeat after me. I, Joseph Russo,
I, Joseph Russo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
or
swear
affirm
or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and to the government established
and to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will impartially and justly perform
that I will impartially and justly perform
all the duties of a lieutenant
all the duties of a lieutenant
of the Washington Township Police Department
of the Washington Township Police Department
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my
so
ability.
help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Captain Kennedy.
Repeat after me. I, Kenneth Kennedy,
I, Kenneth Kennedy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and to the government established
and to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the
so
people.
help me God.
So help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly
or
swear
affirm
or affirm
that I will impartially and justly
that I will impartially and justly
perform all the duties of a captain
perform all the duties of a captain
of the Washington Township Police Department
of the Washington Township Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
At this time, it gives me great pleasure to be able to provide Detective Sims with his new badges for the rank of detective. He's a 20-year veteran of our agency. He's a dedicated, hard-working employee, and it's a well-deserved transfer. Congratulations.
Jack, Alan, real quick. The speech.
Are you sure?
Very good, thank you.
Honor guard. Attention. Right shoulder on. Ready, two. Rolling face. Mark time. North. Forward. North. And lift. 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 And lift.
We'll take now a short 5-minute recess to give some time for people if they wish to leave before our meeting gets started. Thank you, all the officers, for attending and supporting your fellow officers. Some more presentations. I'm going to ask Vicki Benetti to come on up, or Ann Coughlin, with a presentation.
You were going to go first.
We're going to do the one first, yes. And at this time, we'd ask Mr. John Boyer to come on up. There's a mic right there. Just push the button.
I hope you can hear me. Is that coming through? No? Okay. Well, good evening, members of council, Mayor Gattinelli. It is my honor this evening to honor a gentleman. Yes, we think you're a gentleman, right here. We are just delighted to have John Boyer here with us this evening. John is just returning from, I guess, maybe about 6 months away. Is it longer than that? 8 months away? 9 months away from Washington Township after having been something of an institution, for a very long time in the township. John has earned his environmental and stewardship stripes here to an incredible extent. He was first, I think, appointed to the Environmental Commission and the Planning Board by Mayor Luongo. Okay, so he served under Mayor Luongo, Mayor Davidson, Mayor Moriarty, Mayor Lyons, Mayor Wallace, and Mayor Gattinelli. And I don't think I've missed anybody. I kind of took a quick look around the room, but John knows no term limits, however. He was appointed to the Environmental Commission, as I said, in '88, and actually he, in that position, just set the tone for much of what followed. He authorized the first environmental resource inventory that was done for the town, the first inventory of open space. He spearheaded a great movement to create our open space program in the town, including the open space program, open space tax that funded our trust fund, which has allowed us to do so very much. He was on the first Open Space Advisory Committee, led the development of the first Open Space and Recreation Plan for the town in 2001, and was steadfast throughout the next dozen years or so in protecting and being an advocate for open space and for the environment. And he did the very same on the planning board, where he was the chair of the planning board. John has given so much service over so many years, it's hard to think of anybody else who's done so much. But we do want to recognize him today. John, in appreciation of dedicated service given to Washington Township, the Environmental Commission, Open Space Advisory Committee, and Planning Board. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
If I could just say one thing, it's ironic, I was asked over 34 years that I've been in this township, why don't you run for council? It's great, but that was never made. Volunteering, you become so much more influence in what you do, and I think we need to recognize the hundreds and thousands of volunteers in this town, because that's the true resource in this town. What makes this town great is the thousands of volunteers in all avenues that make this town great. So, thank you very much.
John, if you just stand down, we have the mayor with a presentation for you.
Thank you. Well, the administration council wanted to also present you with a little something as well. We see tremendous community service, a volunteer giving us all your time in an effort to make our town better. So we wanted to offer up a proclamation to you this evening. Service to others is a hallmark of American character and central to how we meet our challenges. The nation's communities are increasingly turning to service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet community needs. The Township of Washington has grown and become stronger as a result of the contributions and dedication of citizen contributions to community service. Myself, the mayor of Washington Township, and members of the Township Council wish to recognize a longtime member and volunteer of our community, John Boyer. John was a founding father of the Washington Township Environmental Commission in 1988, was then appointed to the Washington Township Planning Board by former Mayor Gerald Luongo. John also was appointed to the Open Space Committee, dedicated to the preservation of land and for future generations. Therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and members of the Township Council of Washington, Township of Washington, that John Boyer is hereby recognized as a leader and premier volunteer within our community who has contributed to the growth and strength of the Township of Washington over the last 30 years. Be it further resolved that I, Mayor, and members of Township Council of Washington Township do hereby declare this proclamation to be an official document authorized by the Township Council and presented to you, John Boyer, on this 28th day of February 2018. Thank you very much for your service.
Also, at this time, we are honored to have Assemblywoman Gabrielle Mascara here to make also a presentation to Mr. Boyer.
This is going on. Okay. Thank you.
On behalf of Senator Madden, Assemblyman Moriarty, and myself, we also wanted just to give you a small token of our appreciation to say thank you for the last 30 years of your passion to the Washington Township and your dedication to this community. Thank you so much for loving this community and making sure that it progresses, especially being a founding member of the Environmental Commission. That is extremely one of the premier organizations here in Washington Township, given the fact that you have an extraordinary commission with have an annual cleanup where hundreds and hundreds of individuals come out and make sure that this beautiful town stays beautiful. And that is just a testament to your legacy, and thank you so much. So on behalf of the Senator Madden and Senator Moriarty, thank you so much, and best of luck and best wishes in your future.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a presentation from the Open Space and group. Sit down.
You want to sit down there?
So the computer has to warm up for a moment. Sorry, we're all set to go. Hey, Kevin, thank you. But while we're warming up, I'll just introduce our subject this evening. I'm here right now as a member of the Open Space Advisory Committee. And thank you for the opportunity to present the project that we've been working on for some months now, which is an update to our open space and recreation plan. We're presenting this to you as well as to the rest of the public. We've just finished up a little bit of a workshop here, so if anybody here wants to take the time to look at the maps in the back and some of the information that's there, please do so at any time. You'll hear a bit more of the history of our open space program from Barbara Davis, who is the Vice President for Programs at the Land Conservancy of New Jersey, who has been our contractor and our partner in developing this open space plan. When I say that we developed it, I mean it wasn't just the Open Space Committee. We had a good list of folks who participated with us as well, from the Sports Advisory Board, from the Historic Commission, from the Planning Board. And there are a few people here. Mr. Perry was on our review committee. Leon Lakritz is here. Harry Larsalier just stepped out. He was instrumental. Bob Starantino is here. So there were lots of folks, probably about 20 altogether, who were consulted during the development of the plan. It's important to our township because the first plan, which John spearheaded, who's just left the room, was developed in 2001. We're a much different community today than we were in 2001. And there's lots of activity that's been undertaken under our open space program. We have had an interim update, but it's time to take a fresh look, fresh goals, refresh many things about what our targets are and where we're headed from this day forward. The plan is also important because it enables us to maintain our status in the Green Acres program, which qualifies the community for significant matching grants, for loans, and for a number of other things that will help us as we grow and steward our open space estate. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Barbara Davis. We hope to have a nice presentation, maybe some feedback from council, and take a few questions, just a brief comment period if we can. And we will continue to take questions and comments through May 16th. There is a copy of the plan in the clerk's office, a paper copy at the library, and it is posted on our website. So we do hope that anybody from the public who is interested will take a look, and please give us your input and your thoughts and your ideas. Barbara?
Good evening. So my name is Barbara Heskins Davis. I'm Vice President of Programs at the Land Conservancy of New Jersey. I'm also a licensed planner. The Land Conservancy is a nonprofit land trust based up in Boonton. We've written 140 open space and recreation plans, environmental resource inventories, trails and greenway plans, and we worked with your Environmental Commission on the recent update to your environmental resource inventory. So the purpose of the meeting tonight is to review the draft open space and recreation plan, go over the maps, and answer questions that you may have. We're accepting questions and comments up until about the middle of March. You shouldn't hesitate to contact myself. My cards are here and they're on the agenda, or Vicki through the municipal building. So your open space and recreation plan is an update to your 2001 open space and recreation plan. You really started your program back in 1992 with your conservation land element. You created an open space and recreation plan in 2001 after the passage of your open space trust fund in 2000. You did have an update in 2009 of your open space and recreation plan, but it was not adopted as an element of your master plan. So it's the 2001 plan that's the plan on the books. It's important to have the meeting tonight and then a second public meeting, and then for the plan to be adopted as an element of the master plan in order to qualify for Green Acres funding, which Vicki did mention. Your open space plan is greater than 10 years old, so this update is very timely. The plan must be consistent with local, regional, and state planning documents, and this plan is. We looked at the state plan, we looked at the county plans, and we looked at a series of your municipal plans. You're also involved in the Sustainable Jersey program, which this will be a certification action for. An important part of the Open Space and Recreation Plan is to review the goals that you had in your 2001 Open Space and Recreation Plan and in your master plan, and determine which goals really speak to the municipality today and which ones are going to move the municipality forward. Tied to these goals will be a series of recommendations. You can see the goals behind me, and they're really consistent with what you've been doing in order to preserve and protect not only your natural resources, but kind of that agrarian base from which the municipality grew from. The recommendations are pretty wide in terms of how to look at those goals and guide the open space and recreation plan. First and foremost, the plan needs to provide a vision for if you want to acquire property in the future, what do you want to acquire and why? So it gives a basis for reasoning. We write these plans so that you can use them to apply for grant funding to purchase property. It's really critical, and that's also why the environmental resource inventory was done, that you have good information by which to make decisions and then to write those grant applications. You have a very rich program in Washington Township for your open spaces. As I mentioned, you passed your Open Space Trust Fund in 2000. In 2001, the council passed a resolution to establish the Open Space Advisory Committee, and your committee has been operating continuously since that time. I do want to mention that I've written a lot of open space plans. I've worked with a lot of communities. Where it works best is where you have a hybrid mix of people who are engaged in the process. And for the Open Space Advisory Committee, through the leadership of Vicki and Leon, to set up a project team that was involved in the development of the Open Space Plan update was really critical to its success. So an important part of the Open Space Plan update, now remember, this isn't a redo, this is an update, is to be able to provide what you have done with your local open space trust. And what you've done is you've helped to preserve 10 additional properties. That's another 334 acres. Since 2010, you've generated $3.4 million through your Open Space Trust Fund, and you have bonded your Open Space Trust Fund in order to be able to maximize its usage and really leverage it, and you've paid down $3.9 million in debt service. Since 2001, you've contributed $7.2 million of the $20.3 million in purchase costs, which means you've used matching funds to purchase property, and you've done that through the state and the county programs. You've received $6.8 million from Gloucester County and $7.7 million from Green Acres, and that's really significant. There are not many towns that can say they've received $7.7 million from the state of New Jersey. So the open space plan needs to have a fairly prescribed format with respect to the sections that it includes and the maps that are incorporated. And the first map is your open space map. And what it's meant to show is how land is used in the municipality. It's not based on your zoning. It's not based on what it looks like. It's based on the tax assessor database. This is what the tax assessor identifies as a use for those properties. So on the map behind me, and of course the colors are a bit distorted, but there's a poster in the back. We've identified your Class 1 or your undeveloped properties, your Class 3, which is your farmland. We've looked at residential properties that are greater than an acre, commercial and industrial properties that are greater than an acre, and we've looked at your public and your religious charitable properties in the municipality, and the numbers are behind me. What's most important is how much land has been permanently protected in the municipality. You have 1,600 acres that are permanently preserved, and it's in three ways. You have 1,258 acres that are municipally preserved, 288 acres of farmland, and the county has a county park, James Atkinson Park. And this goes into just a little more detail about your public and preserved lands. The next couple of maps really form the basis of your Greenway map, the vision for the map of why you've acquired property and where you want to move forward in the municipality. So we have here just some larger insets so you can see what the map looks like. This shows Washington Lake Park, which is 330 acres in the municipality. The purple colors are municipal property that's not preserved as parkland. He shows the high school in pink, Duffield's Farm, which I think is my favorite farm in the state, and your elementary schools which surround it. It also shows James Atkinson Park. So you can really see that Washington has a good network of parks and public spaces within the municipality. And again, this shows the Smith Garrison property is just a larger inset, Grenlock Lake, and the Goodwin Track. In order to build on this, we talked to the open space project team about how to identify where your greenways were. And don't forget, you had just recently updated your environmental resource inventory, and there were things that came out really important in your environmental resource inventory that are uniquely tied into the open space program in the municipality. One is where your drinking water comes from. 2 is where the wetlands and your forested landscapes are. 3 is where's your farmland. And then where are your recreational areas and bicycle trails that are proposed by the county, that are outside the county, that might come into the municipality. So what we did was we built this resource map, and which when you look at it, you could say, oh my goodness, this is really too much. But if you really start to delve in, it gives you an idea of why you would want to protect property, what resource funding you may be able to get to preserve that property, and how those resources interconnect with your community. And that brings you to your Greenway map. And there's a large version in the back. But you can see here that there's a series of greenways that have been proposed for Washington Township to connect your already preserved lands with your local neighborhoods. And we have the Blackwood Lake, Grenlock Lake. We have bicycle paths and trails, Mantua Creek, your sports complex, the Goodwin Greenway, the Washington Greenway, and the Herfield Grenlock Greenway. And we have a couple of insets to show you what that looks like. So here we have Blackwood Lake kind of connecting into Grenlock Lake. Blackwood Lake, I have to say, is like a hidden treasure within the municipality. When we did the open space tour, we were really surprised as to the beauty of that corner of the municipality and the ecosystem that it supports in that corner. There is also a bike trail that comes in from Camden County that connects into Blackwood Lake. Grenlock Lake is just a treasure. No two ways about it. It's an absolutely stunning spot. I was glad to get here early so I could read the reproductions of the visitor pamphlets that you have in the back about Grenlock Lake. Not many communities have such a historically significant property that is still actively used for open space and recreation. It's a beautiful spot. You have the Goodwin Track, which houses swamp pink, which is a threatened and endangered species, and you have a wonderful partnership with the South Jersey Water and Land Trust to co-manage that property. Your baseball and sports complex is one that I just wanted to highlight on Herfield-Grenlock Road. This is something that was identified in your open space and recreation plan as in need of, I would say, some second looks at. You have a road that kids have to cross to get from one side to the other. It definitely has gotten some facility and maintenance improvements, but it could probably use some additional attention. And then the plan proposes an action program, and this is required by Green Acres, kind of your short-term or your immediate, your mid-term, your long-term, and your ongoing. First thing the town needs to do is they need to finalize the plan, adopt it as an element of the master plan by the planning board, and submit it to Green Acres so your open space funding stays secure. Your current open space plan is 17 years old. It's way past its time frame, and it no longer qualifies for Green Acres funding. Green Acres is unlikely to have a funding round this year, but they will have a funding round in 2019, and they're waiting the year so that they have a meaningful amount of money to allocate. And then there's a series of recommendations as you mature in your program. One of the other things that the Open Space Committee has been very keen on, and they've been working hard with, is to really give a good, thorough look at how the Open Space Trust Fund is used and to provide recommendations for how it should be used in the future. And the plan does go into some detail about that. So I'm here to answer questions that you might have, as is Vicki and Leon from your Open Space Committee. What we're going to ask is that if the questions are straightforward, we'll answer them this evening. The council does have a fairly full agenda. If the questions are more complex, again, I'm happy to answer them via email or phone call, as is Vicki, and their comment period is open for another couple weeks. So with that, I'd like to thank the council, and if the council has questions, maybe that would be first and then the public.
Thank you, Vicki and Barbara. Also, if you have complex questions, you may submit them to the clerk's office, and we will see that they are forwarded on to you. And again, the deadline date for comments is March 16th? Okay, thank you. Council, any questions?
Not at this time.
Any questions or comments from the public on the presentation tonight?
Hi. You mentioned the Herfield-Grenlock baseball complex is in need of some attention. Could you just elaborate on that?
To the best of my ability, I'll elaborate on it. What we found was that because it's separated by the road, that there needs to be some additional work with respect to pedestrian access and public safety in that area, and you may want to consider investment in the field space there in order to continue to maintain it and make sure that it's resilient.
I just want to make a comment. There were flashers put in the pedestrian walk in the mayor's direction. That's a project that was actually just completed.
Anything further from anyone? Mayor?
Nothing at this time, no.
Okay.
Again, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, bill list. Approval of the bill list for February 28th, 2018. I get a motion to approve the bill list.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussions? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes, abstain, Fazio.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Okay, minutes. Approval of regular minutes for February 7th, 2018. Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion on it? Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Abstain.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Okay, ordinances. Ordinance 003, 2018. Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and to establish a cap bank. NJSA 40A 4-45.14. This ordinance is up for adoption. A motion to open the public. Do we want to have the CFO is going to make a brief statement?
Yes, if the CFO and Assistant CFO could come up. Thank you.
My name is Colette Backish, and I am the CFO of Washington Township. And this is Robin Sarlo, and she is the Assistant CFO. And just to give a little explanation about the ordinance 003 2018, is that the COLA ordinance does not reflect or define the 2018 municipal budget and its current appropriations. It actually ensures responsible action of the council for the current and future year budget cycles while keeping local control of decisions without the dependency of the state in the event of unplanned events that may impact the appropriations cap. The COLA ordinance, or the cost of living cap adjustment, allows the township to increase its in-cap appropriations by the total of 3.5%. More importantly, this ordinance provides for, as they say, banking of unused cap for up to 2 years, and the amount of cap not used under the COLA ordinance in 2018 may be used in the 2019 and 2020 budgets. The importance of the banking is simply protection from various hurdles that may arise in future years. An example of an obstacle is in addition to the in-cap cost that currently is an out-of-cap cost. Presently, a few examples of our out-of-cap costs are debt service, deferred charges, interlocal agreements, and a portion of our health benefits. At this time, all of the out-of-cap costs are not subject to the cap law guidelines, and continuing to have a cap bank in order to cover any new unforeseen costs could be considered prudent. The challenges faced when preparing a budget are remaining compliant with the expenditure cap, remaining compliant with the tax levy cap, and defining a balance between the services township offers with the amount to be raised by taxation. To accomplish and satisfy all three of these challenges, especially remaining compliant with the cap laws, it is easier with the cap bank. This bank is to help the municipality remain compliant while continuing to provide the services to the township residents that they expect and deserve. That's it.
Thank you.
Let me stay up here for any questions.
Question? Well,
It's open to the public.
With your motion, open.
a motion to open to the public.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We now have the open to the public to discuss this ordinance.
Joe Fernicola from Goodwin Parkway. A couple things. I was looking at the financial information, the last 3 years of our audited financial statements, and I was just wondering, one question that I have regarding that is, when is the unaudited 2017 coming out for review? Does anybody know? It's supposed to be due, I think, before the end of this month, and today's the 28th of February. And the reason why I asked that is that on the financial statement, even though it's unaudited, we would have a running balance of the fund, because right now, based on 2016 numbers, our current fund is $6.2 million. So I'm trying to figure out how much we have now versus what's going to be utilized for 2018, and why do we need why do we have to increase the cap by 1% when we have significant surplus dollars unfunded? I don't understand. That's pretty significant dollars. So what are we doing? Should the people get a refund from a municipality standpoint? Because I know what the other side of the coin is, the Board of Education, we're going to get hit real bad next year once that Washington Square project comes to fruition. But I don't know what the number is for 2017. Do we happen to know that? What our current fund is as of 12/31/17?
We'll address all your questions.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And I'm just trying to get a feel of this.
No problem.
In dollars, what are we looking at for 2018? Just let's put it this way. We have $6 million as current fund surplus. Okay, we do the budget, and if you look at the financial statements, I mean, I'm not a CPA, but I can read things. Every year since 2013, the projection versus the realization of budgetary income and expenditures were reversed. What I mean by that is that every time a revenue expectation was put forth, it was always understated, where the expenditures were overstated. Now, we're looking at all these dollars here, and I really am perplexed from the standpoint of what we're doing in 2018. The concept, again, I go back to the financial aspect of when you go to borrow money or you go to, you're in business. You really project at the beginning of your fiscal year to what your expectations are. And if you don't know that, how could you budget something? I mean, I'm just missing something here. But my major concern is when you see $6.2 million at the end of 2016, why do we need more money? Why are we increasing or propose to be increasing the cap from 2.5, another additional 1%? I know that varies terribly in the state of New Jersey. That opens up pensions, salaries, and health benefits. I know that's excluded. But I think what we should do is, from a observation of all people, and I'm not a finance maniac or anything, but I just look at numbers and I see that in 2017, you've spent $2,600,000. Now, I think we should, if you talk about transparency, I think we should know where those dollars are going. And I'm not being a smart person about this. I mean, I'm just a normal guy here. And I'm looking at, I'm looking at numbers, and I just can't relate to why are we doing this? I'll give you an example.
Joe, we got to cut you off. It's 5 minutes.
Is it really?
We need to let somebody else go.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
You want to answer his questions at this
You want to answer his questions?
Anybody on council or the CO?
Colette?
Want to close to the public?
Yeah, kind of. I thought we were answering the questions of each person after they.
So as regards to the 2017 AFS, as actually the date was extended from the state to be due as of the 26th, and ours is complete and will be on the website as of tomorrow for those numbers. So it is complete. The Cap Bank is not proposing to raise tax. It's proposing just to preserve money, not necessarily to spend it. So it has nothing to do with raising taxes. It's just a bank, really. It's just.
Colette, if I may, this allows us to exceed the appropriations that we made last year, correct? And that's it. So basically, it's allowing us to go 1% over the appropriations that we had last year.
If we need to.
If we need to. Doesn't say we're going to.
And stay compliant with the state.
So if there was some kind of emergency, it allows us to use that $1.164 million.
Correct.
Thank you.
So it's just, if we need to, we can have appropriations go higher.
But it's not saying that we are appropriating 1.164.
But it's not saying that we are.
Okay, thank you.
And in the future, or I don't see it happening this year, but it's just in order to stay compliant with the state. The state only allows a certain percentage above the appropriations from the year before. This year, we're lucky enough to have 2.5. Last year was 0.5, and appropriations do go up higher.
And Colette, this particular cap, the appropriations or the spending cap, as we like to call it, that's different from the levy or tax cap, correct?
Tax
Two
cap
separate caps,
is
right?
correct. They are mutually exclusive. The tax cap is 2%. This has nothing to do with raising taxes at all whatsoever.
Thank you.
Okay.
Colette and Robin. Robin, you've been the CFO of Washington Township for a number of years. You are also the CFO of Lumberton. With regard to the surplus, obviously for emergency purposes, we have to have cash on hand. Much like an emergency fund, you have a savings account or a money market. What are your thoughts on that?
We especially need to have surplus during the summer months when we're waiting to send out tax bills. Of course, they're always delayed because the state delays us. So we need a cash flow during those months, or we would have to send out estimated tax bills, which would cost the town probably $20,000 extra dollars. So we do need to have the cash flow for those lean times when we don't have taxes coming in.
Thank you.
Giancarlo Dorazio. I am a resident and a taxpayer of Washington Township. If this ordinance has to do with the appropriations on the budget, why are we voting on it today and not when the budget is adopted, in case we need it? A lot of towns introduce this ordinance at the same time they introduce the budget. Because if you find cuts in the appropriations on the budget, you may not only keep this at 2.5%, you may even reduce it. But if you give the green light to the administration, you're giving them the green light to spend more money that we may not have, unless you vote no tonight, and then the administration will have to live within their means, and that will be beneficial to the community.
That's just not how this works. This is not a green light for the administration to spend money. In no way are we approving $1.164 million to be spent. This is simply allowing us to go up to that should we get in trouble in the future. It's just a prudent thing to do from a financial standpoint. This isn't trying to spend more money. For the last 2 years, we've been able to hold the line on the budget, and we intend to do that again this year if we can. So that's what we're looking at. We're not looking to raise taxes. This isn't a tax levy. This is an appropriations cap. I already said what I had to say.
Colette, you have something?
She'll address the timing question.
You have to actually do this ordinance prior to the intro of the budget. So it is actually being done on a timely basis.
That's state law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Council, good evening. Ralph Campana, Washington Township, New Jersey. What I'd like the council to explain is, I know we are required, I believe by the state, to have X amount of surplus opposed to what our budget is. I'd like to know what that number is, and do we ever go over that amount that is put in reserve? And if we do put that amount in, if there is more in reserve, is there any reason why that money doesn't go back to the residents as a credit, or are we always right at that number? In other words, if our budget is $50 million, we need to have $5 million in reserves, and we have $6 million. That other million, do we have to hold that in the township hands, or are we ever over? I guess that's my main question. Also, I see that the public participation guidelines says once a question is answered, the council president will then ask one of the members of the governing body, if they wish to address the person that's speaking. Thank you, Council President.
Does anybody on the council want to answer Ralph's questions? Colette?
I do not believe that there is an actual requirement for how much surplus we have to carry. We actually choose to carry enough to cover our expenses, at least for the first 4 months of the year. So that's our choice, to be conscientious of holding enough surplus in order to do so. That's all I have.
Council President, I have a question for Colette, if I might. With respect, and since it's your area of expertise, but I know there's no actual requirement of a certain percentage for surplus, but obviously it's a good practice. We have our auditors looking at the surplus all the time, and from year to year, our auditors will tell us what's a fiscally responsible surplus to have.
Correct. Yes, and we've already met with the auditors.
When Moody's last year gave us our bond rating, they took that into account, that our surplus, the numbers that were there. Is that a fact?
That is a fact.
That helped us get
That helped us with
a very, very good rating?
a very great rating.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colette. Anyone else in the public wishing to speak? Make a motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to adopt.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? No, all
No,
in favor.
roll call,
I'm sorry,
please.
roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
No.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, ordinance 004, 2018, ordinance amending section 260-25, the Code of the Township of Washington, entitled Stop Intersections. This ordinance is up for introduction. Motion to introduce.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Ordinance 005, 2018, ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Gloucester, State of New Jersey, to mandate direct deposit for municipal employees by the Township of Washington, County of Gloucester, State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 5214-15F. This ordinance is up for introduction.
And just if I could, Council President, by way of explanation on this ordinance, there is a local finance bulletin that mandates direct deposits, and we actually save money by doing this, by having direct deposits. It helps with payroll, staff hours, and person hours, as well as the actual cost of running paper checks.
Okay. We'll have a motion to introduce.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Any
Sorry,
discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 006, 2018, ordinance amending the Washington Township Code pursuant to NJSA 4055D-53 to estimate and manage performance and maintenance guarantees. This ordinance is up for introduction.
Mr. Perry, if I might, this ordinance is up for introduction by title only. My office and Anina's office are working on this. There's been state legislation that was recently signed into law. Actually, it was one of the last things that Governor Christie did before he left office. When you have private developments, the developers have to put up performance guarantees that ensure that they will install the site improvements and maintenance guarantees and so forth. There's inspection fees as well. There's been changes to the law to give relief to developers, and the primary relief is that if there are going to be improvements that are not going to be dedicated for public use, like in the subdivision, streets and roads and so forth, or if you have a commercial development, the parking lot and so forth, they don't have to bond for that. But there are certain protections that the state legislation allows the municipality to have, so we are dealing with this via ordinance, and the ordinance that we're working on is designed to give our residents in the township the greatest protection that the state legislation permits. Obviously, it trumps what we used to have, but that's what we're working on at this point. And we will have that ordinance to you prior to publication, so we're going through that. And ultimately, it will have to go to the planning board and then come, because it's a land use regulation, and come back here for final adoption. And the clerk and I and Benita and I are all working on this together. That's why it's being introduced by title. We want to get done as quickly as possible before anybody else gets in.
Motion to introduce.
Make that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on it? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to resolutions. I need a motion to amend to add a consent agenda to include Resolution 062, 2018 to 064, 2018. You want to make the motion?
Make that motion to amend the agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call. You need a roll call on that?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Following resolutions are consent agenda and only require a vote for all listed. Each one must be read by title. If any member of the council wishes to have one removed and heard separately, they need to indicate it prior to the reading of the titles. Anybody want to, anything heard separately?
No.
Okay. Resolution 055, 2018, resolution updating the mayor's appointment book for 2018 for the Township of Washington. Resolution 056, 2018, resolution amending Resolution 178, 2017 of the Township of Washington approving participation with the State of New Jersey federal grant program administered by the Division of Criminal Justice Department of Law and Public Safety. Resolution 057, 2018, resolution authorizing refund of tax overpayments. Resolution 059, 2018, resolution authorizing an emergency temporary appropriation of funds. Resolution 060, 2018, resolution approving release of performance guarantee for D&W Diesel Incorporated, street lighting only. Resolution 061, 2018, resolution amending Resolution 359, 2017 of the Township of Washington, approving participation with the State of New Jersey federal grant program administered by the Division of Criminal Justice, Department of Law and Public Safety. Resolution 062, 2018, resolution returning application fee for peddler's license. Resolution 063, 2018, authorizing the Township of Washington to solicit bids for lawn services. Resolution 064, 2018, authorizing the Township Clerk to advertise for public bids for lease of the concession stand located at Washington Lake Park. Motion to approve the resolutions.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion on it? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, any old business? Nick?
Nope.
Sean?
None at this time.
Angela?
No.
Mayor?
No.
New business? Nick?
No.
Sean?
Pass.
Angela?
No.
Mayor? Reports? Mick?
Nope.
Sean?
Just like to say thank you to the Land Conservancy and the Open Space for putting that on tonight and putting it all together. It's been a long time coming. I know we've been working on that, trying to get that together for Well, so I encourage everybody to submit any public comments, review it. It is important to the future of our town and the future of our open space project.
Anything, Angel?
I do. Just a report from the Family and Community Services and Municipal Alliance. For our Christmas Angels programs, we were able to benefit 218 kids and also donate 7 bags of presents to Williamstown, which is our sister town. An update on Mother's Cupboard. ShopRite was able to give them a $1,000 grant, which was fantastic, and they will be at Botino's from March 24th to March 25th if you want to stop by and drop anything off. There's a new date for Stuff the Bus. It's on Thursday, March 8th at 1:30 to 7 p.m. at the high school parking lot, and they are looking for canned goods, peanut butter, jelly, toiletries, cleaning supplies, laundry supplies, school supplies, paper products, baby products, snack items, etc. Gift cards are also accepted, so they could really use your help. Also, from Family Community Services, on March 8th, there's the senior citizen luncheon at the senior center at 11:30. They're going to have, they give a lunch, and then they'll also be educating the seniors about senior citizen abuse. There is a Rotary event it's on Friday, March 9th from 7 to 10. Featuring over 200 wines and beers from around the world. General admission is $50 each to benefit the Rotary, and they are, who are they honoring? Oh, they're honoring Sam Nicholas there. It's at the Wedgwood Country Club in the Grand Ballroom, and that's on Friday, March 9th. And one more. On behalf of the Lauren Rose Albert Foundation, which is the Mothers Matter Committee, Mothers Matters open house is on Saturday, March 10th between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. They'll have their traditional ribbon cutting ceremony to kick off the annual Mother's Day project. That will be around 12 to 12:30. So hope anyone can join just to start off the Mother's Day season. And we'll list all of those dates and things on the Township Facebook and website, just because I knew I threw a lot at you. So that's all.
Okay, Nellie?
Just a few things. Our administration has worked diligently on the preparation of the 2018 budget. Following the statutory deadline set by the state of New Jersey, the budget process includes obtaining information from all township department heads, as well as various other entities such as the library, fire district, school board, and the county and the state. Several items required in the preparation of the budget are the township's net valuation taxable, which is received in January from the Gloucester County Assessor's Office, and the amount of state aid the township will receive, which is provided in February from the state of New Jersey. At the direction of the business administrator, the 2018 budget process began on October 19th, 2017, with the CFO providing each department head with a 2018 budget preparation worksheet, which was required to be completed and returned to the CFO by November 3rd, 2017. Budget meetings were scheduled with the business administrator, CFO, and each department head during the weeks of November 6th and 13th. These meetings were held to discuss with the department heads what budget requirements they would have for 2018, as well as any new budgetary or capital initiatives they may be requesting. The 2018 temporary budget was adopted on January 3rd, 2018 at the reorg meeting in order to allow the township to operate through the first quarter of the new year. The COLA or cap ordinance was introduced on February 7, 2018, will be up for final reading, which we did this evening. 2017 annual financial statement was completed by February 10, 2018, at which time the CFO was provided with the prior year's revenue amounts as well as the township surplus revenue. These figures are required to prepare the 18 budget. The CFO met with the auditors on February 22, 2018, in order to put the revenue and preliminary appropriations into the 2018 budget document. The administration has prepared the 2018 budget in an efficient and timely manner, adhering to the guidelines set by the state. The budget is now under review and is scheduled to be introduced on March 28, 2018. 2018, which is within the approved statutory deadline for introduction. The state must then review and approve the township budget before final adoption. Little information on the small group budget review dates. We're getting prepared for that as well. We actually did have a meeting set for this evening, but nobody had come. But we do have other dates that are available. So these group meetings will be approximately 45 to 55 minutes long and are on a first-come, first-booking basis where you must RSVP for specific dates. Please contact Alicia Rotella at arotella@twp.washington.nj.us or at 856-589-0575. You must contact Alicia for these meetings as they are by appointment only. The dates and times are as follows. Next one will be March 7th at 8 a.m., March 14th at 6 p.m., March 21st at 12 p.m., March 28th at 6 p.m., April 4th, 12 p.m., April 11th, 6 p.m., April 18th, 8 a.m., and April 28th, 6 p.m. Reference to our Shop Washington Township program, I'd like to say, give a personal thank you to all the residents that have reached out with positive feedback on the Shop Washington Township program. The genuine feedback from many residents has been overwhelming, and every week we see the number of businesses participating continue to grow. I want to share with you an email that was sent yesterday to my business administrator, Jason Gonter. Just read, "Hey, Jason. I wanted to let you know that I received a phone call from Mark Turner, the president of the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce in California. Mark learned of our program here in Township, Shop Washington Township. He is seeking information to implement the program in his area in California. Mark was enthusiastic about the program and expressed interest about the program for residents within our community. He's in the beginning stages of information gathering and is hoping to begin the program for their community as well. Great news travels quickly. Thank you so much. Colette Baschitz." Now I have to recognize the 30 businesses participating in the Shop Washington Township program. All-Star Kennels, Anything Home Repair, Atlantic Insurance Services, Big Swing Golf Center, Bill Collins Roofing, Brava Vita Flowers and Gifts, Breen Roofing, Creations by You, Inc., Critter Cuts, Pet Grooming, DeBear's Jewelry, DeStefano's Deli, Duffield's Farm Market, Fancy Nails, Floors Just for You, Inc., Frank Liuzzi, CPA LLC, Jake's on Green Tree Pizzeria, Miles Auto Service, Moosey's Play Cafe, Mosquito Joe, Natali Jewelers, POH Personal Training and Fitness, Party Heaven, Pizza Box Restaurant and Pizzeria, Postnet Printing, Rockland Community Computer Service, Royal Bargain, Stanley & Sons Roofing, Tony Soprano's Pizza, Turnersville, Meineke, and White Glove Car Wash. I just want to thank all the participating vendors. Thank you.
Okay, I just have one thing. This past Saturday, we had the rabies clinic at the municipal garage, and I think we vaccinated over 240 dogs and cats. I want to thank the Public Works employees that helped out with it, and Danielle and Chrissy from the clerk's office. It was a pretty fun day. Nobody got bit by any dogs, and it was good. No dog or cat fights, so it was a good time. Thank you. All right, we're gonna do the public portion. Please follow the public decorum posted and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Once you have completed your comments or questions, please take your seat. Council President, myself, will then ask if any member of the governing body or the designee wishes to address your comments or questions asked by the person who just spoke. So can I get a motion to approve, to open to the public?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Voice vote sufficient.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are now open to the public. Anybody wishing to speak? Come on up.
Hi, Council. Good evening. I'm Susan Pacewick, 2 Buna Court. I actually had a request. When it comes to the ordinances being written, I know that you can look up the codes and the laws online, which gets time-consuming. In reference to the ordinances, I would actually like to request that the actual code or the law that's being referenced be included underneath the summary in order to continue with the intended transparency, as well as extend the summary with a little more detail if possible. That way we can continue the extended transparency to the people of Washington Township. That was it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Robert Davis, Saddlebrook Drive in Sewell. I have a question about the number of council members again. I brought this up about 6 months ago, and no one was sure how the council would be enlarged, whether it was proper for the council to be enlarged, and anything about that. I know that we're under the Faulkner Act, and so I looked that up, and it seems our form of government is the optional municipal charter law, referred to as OMCL. And under the mayor-council form, it provides for a separately elected mayor and council, all of whom serve for four-year terms. The council may consist of 5, 7, or 9 members, and they may be elected from the community at large or through a combination of at-large and ward representatives. The number of wards varies with the size of the council. It says here that if you have a 7-member council, that the number of wards would be 4. And I don't think we use the ward system, but we do have Herfville, we have Sewell, we have Turnersville, we have Grenlock. So we have at least 4 or 5 what could be considered wards. So I personally believe that we should have 7, if not now, shortly. We had just talked about growing the community, new developments. We have 50,000 people now in Township. If we're having 3, 4, 5 new developments, we're going to reach close to 60,000 very quickly. It says here, the mayor may attend the council meetings and has the right to speak, but not to vote. Some mayors do not attend. I appreciate our mayor being here and attending. The mayor has a veto power over all ordinances, which may be overridden by a 2/3 vote of the council. The tentative budget is prepared by the mayor, who submits it to the council for approval. Any municipality adopting this OMCL form of government is required to create an ordinance which creates an administrative code which specifies the municipal officers, departments, agencies, and defines their responsibilities and procedures. I was just wondering, is there something here in Township where anybody can just go and look where anything is? And if so, where would that be, those procedures? And it says, although 71 municipalities operate under this form of government as of July 1st, 2011, they include most of the large communities. 37.6% of New Jersey's population is served using our form of the Faulkner Act. So if I can just find out where that information may be, I appreciate it.
I can address at least some of the questions, if he's done speaking.
Okay, you can address it.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Where you can go in our code is in Chapter 2. It sets up the administrative structure of this form of Faulkner Act. It lists all the departments, offices, and other agencies. And there's other sections of the code as well. You always feel free to give me a call, and I'll help you navigate the code if you'd like. My number's on the website. With respect to changes in form of government, that takes charter study commissions and things of that nature. I will tell you that in a mayor-council form of government where there are 7 or 9 members, I'll take a 7-member as an example. The mayor, like in this community, again, runs at large. In other words, everybody gets to vote for the mayor, and the mayor has voice but no vote in that form of government. And in that form of government, out of the 7 council members, there are 4 members that run by virtue of separate wards, so only people in those wards vote for that particular council person, and the other 3 run at large, much like the 5 members of council in this government all run at large, so everybody votes for them. So that's what you would have in a 7-member council form of mayor-council Faulkner Act. It's the best I can answer your question at this point.
Frazier, Fort Drake Terrace, Heritage Valley, President of Heritage Valley Civic Association. I was here about a month and a half ago. Guess I'll be back every month because I'm still back to the same thing. We have a nursing home going up front there. We have a zoning board that gave those people everything they wanted. They gave them a variance to build it there. They gave them a variance for height. They gave them a variance for size. They gave them a variance for parking spots. They gave them a variance, except to build a merry-go-round, that you gave them everything. It's being built. There's problems. I have residents call in this township and get absolutely no answers about anything. You were so quick, the zoning board was so quick, and everyone was so quick that this is a wonderful thing and don't worry about it. Well, where do you go for answers? Where do I go for answers? You're going to give me answers? Because I certainly can't get them from anybody else. Who owns the property? Still haven't built it. What about the access road that they told us when they had the agreement was going to be one way out, left turn only? Now it's been changed. What about the way the trees were torn down on the neighbor's property? Nobody got back to them. What about everything that they've done and people were making calls up here and you can't get an answer? You just can't get an answer. We're so wonderful. Everybody can do what they want. This guy got everything he wanted in a month. Now it's being built. Who's doing anything about the guy that lives on the corner next to it that had everything shaken off his walls, had damage done in the whole house from the heavy earth-moving equipment that was running in his backyard that knocked all the pictures off his wall? Everything else came down. He met with them. You know what they told him? We're going to send an engineer out. We're going to look at your house. We're going to make notes, and if there's any damage, we're going to take care of it. You're still waiting for him. He's called up here. Nobody wants to hear it. Yeah, I don't get it. There's 625 people living. That's $6-some million in tax ratables. We had to give everything for this nursing home to be built. And the people that live there can't even get an answer. They took the fence down. Who's going to replace? This were all questions that were asked at the zoning board. We're going to get answers. Who's replacing the fence? The irrigation's busted. The people that take care of that place right now is put flowers in another 2 months. Where's the irrigation getting fixed at? They ran over the island. They rusted the sprinklers in the island. Who's taking care of that? Nothing. So maybe somebody up here could tell me who the residents in that development go to that will actually give them an answer. Everybody's so great with giving the developers everything they want. How about worrying about the 600 and some homes that are in the development? How about getting answers to them? Because every time we have a meeting, I'm asked the same thing. What about this? What about that? Nobody answers. Oh, I called the woman at the zoning, but she doesn't answer me. Oh, I called the developer. He says get lost. Oh, I asked the guy, the contractor up there, who's going to fix the sprinklers. I don't know. I asked the guy about the road. The road's going to be one way. Well, we're not sure. This was all stuff that was supposed to be in stone. Well, it's not. And nobody gets back to anybody. It's disgusting. It really is. When people come in here and ask to build something and you get it shoved down your throat and like that it's passed. And then when people have problems, that's what they do. They walk away.
Mr. Perry, Anina Hogan from our Department of Engineering is here. She, I think, is...
I was just getting to go and ask Anita if she could come up and speak and address some of these concerns.
Well, unfortunately, the only official route we have as far as addressing concerns of what's in the bond. It's the only true mechanism that we have. As far as anything done as far as damages to the public property
and anything in the island, the fencing. As far as trees and staying within their clearing limits, the contractors have stayed within those limits on the plans. They are in what people consider to be the buffer, but that buffer has to be built after the fact, after some of the work is done. As far as the private residents and the adjacencies and any concerns, although that hasn't specifically come to our attention directly, I do know that there had been a reach out to some of the other, at least one of the council members. The issue here becomes, do we have a mechanism as the township to actually do something, or is it a private property matter to a private property matter? I can only enforce what's bonded. I can't enforce the private property matter. And I think this is a question of, is the town actually, and this is more so potentially illegal, but I do not believe has the enforcement ability between two private property owners. But if there is some mechanism we want to take as a township, then I can help facilitate it, but we have to make a decision on that front.
He had a question of who owns the property?
Who owns the property?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the, well, so as far as, so the,
Well, you have to, so I don't.
I think he's referring to who owns the damages.
No, where the assisted living is going, the property.
I'm sorry, where the site, who owns the site?
Yes.
I'd have to look up the actual property owner name and developer's name. It's not the township, if that's what you're asking me. It's a private entity. I'd have to look it up. I don't have the records in front of me.
All right.
We do have, just so we're on the same page, we do have all of their information and ability, and if there is a desire to facilitate meetings with them, they are willing.
And I'd just like to, if I may, I've had one resident contact me, and I have had multiple phone calls with that resident individually. I've never heard about a number of these issues that were just brought up here today. Be more than happy to talk about them and see what kind of resolution there is to that. This is the first time I'm hearing about a lot of these issues. I am aware of one resident who has had issues, and we have done as much as we can to help them out and steer them in the right direction. We do have the construction official and the zoning officer actually going out to that home on Friday. We have been in contact with those people. Anybody who's reached out to me, I've contacted back. Bruce, I haven't talked to you for a while. If you want to have a conversation, I'd be completely open to that. You're obviously more than welcome to bring your issues here to the full council, but if there's something that you want to talk about, I would absolutely be open for that.
Mr. Fraser, if you could you meet me afterwards? Sure. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Council, Ralph Campana, Washington Township. In my heart of hearts, I believe everyone here is really trying to help the township. Maybe not 100%, but I think a very large percent. I see residents get aggravated on different issues involving their direct developments or homes. For obviously, it's their property. It's very sensitive. I think in the future, and I'm one of the proponents of getting businesses in. I speak about it all the time. I ask the mayor things we can do to get businesses in. I don't know about this senior center. I know right where it's at because I shop in a store right in the area there. And I believe, and I may be wrong, but if they're a nonprofit and they're really not going to be paying a large tax base, if any at all, I think they should be put to the, I won't say screws, I think they should be having a larger buffer, like this gentleman was just saying. Again, I don't live there, but I do see a lot of times when businesses are put up, the buffers aren't as big as they could be to make the residents and residential areas look a little bit nicer for them, to have their privacy. It's like that in every township, in every development. It looks good on paper. They're going to put up berms, they're going to put up bushes, they're going to put up trees, and then a year later when you look at it, it's all nice and you go, wait a minute, these bushes are only 4 foot tall. It's going to be years before I have a buffer. That being said, I just think that when the zoning approves these things, I think it would be a little bit better for the residents that have been paying taxes in the township for many years, our tax base, to help protect them a little bit more than someone coming into the town that may not be paying any taxes or very little at all. That being said, I do have a question regarding the budget again. I was very unclear. I wanted to know, and I understand what the Moody ratings would consist of as far as our loans. We don't have a high rating. We have a high debt interest. On the interest, the debt would go up. What is the minimum we need in reserves in reference to our budget to have to get an A rating with Moody's? It's a very basic, simple question. What is the minimum we need? If we've reached that minimum and we have an extra million, an extra 200,000, whatever we have, why do we still have it? Why aren't we giving a credit back to the residents if we have that minimum to attain that credit rating, which is very important? I understand debt service. I understand it. One other thing regarding, I circled it, I only know I have another 10 seconds. Ordinance 04-2018 regarding the stop signs and yield signs will be placed. Who makes the decision where these signs go? Is that the planners? Is that the police department? Who's involved with stop signs and yield signs? Thank you. That's all I have.
Colette? We can do that?
So the stop and yield signs came up because we had the police department reach out to our office with regard to concerns about some of them that did not exist, and to look into the entirety of a couple of neighborhoods. So our office looked at that and looked at where the predominant is for the predominant direction of flow, of which direction it comes at, and then look for, based on the amount of flow that would come in, whether a stop or a yield is more appropriate, and where the appropriate placement is for the majority of the traffic.
So it's basically the police department that's bringing it to your attention?
The police department brought it to our attention as a concern, and then our office looks at it from a standpoint of a traffic safety of where it's appropriate to place it.
All right. Colette?
When it pertains to the Moody rating, it's not just what is in reserve, or there's not a listed of a minimum reserve in order to get, as you say, an A rating, or, but a reserve or a surplus is one of the components that is the equation of the rating. Other things included in the rating are your ratio, your debt ratio, meaning what percentage of debt you have on the tax valuations, your growth, businesses in your community. So all of these things are what goes into the Moody's rating. It's not just the surplus number. So they don't give you a minimum. They look at the whole thing, the whole picture. Is that
Ralph, I just want to comment on that because I had the call with the analyst last year with Jim Dioria, and we were on the phone for about 3.5 hours. A lot of the financial numbers, but a lot of the different strategies and things that were going on in the town, all that's taken into account. So it's not just solely the surplus, but it is a component, an important component.
Correct.
I'd also invite you, you heard an announcement tonight with the open budget meetings that we have. If you'd like to attend one, Colette and I'd be happy to go over the figures with you. Obviously, I don't have my laptop with the numbers in front of me, nor do you. So, we could give you more accurate figures and have an open discussion.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Make a motion to close the public section.
Second.
Voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are now going to move to a executive session. How long will this take?
I expect to take approximately 30 minutes, and there will unlikely be any action taken after executive session.
Okay.
So we have to read the resolution and vote on it and go into executive session all at the same time.
Okay. Motion to approve, move to executive session.
And just to note, it's Resolution 58, resolution authorizing executive session for litigation matters, the Benaventura versus Washington Township et al.
Okay.
Make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
We're going to be going to the flag room.
Yes.
And our attorney is here.